Welcome to the Gen Z Journey, where we work with you through an entrepreneurial lens to build a wholesome perspective on life and build both our business and personal dreams together. Join our community on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Gen Z Journey. So, hello and welcome to the Gen Z Journey podcast. I'm super excited to introduce our guest today, but before we get to that, I'll start as I always do with the podcast. These guest podcasts are meant to really just for you guys to intimately get to know our guests and know their success, because we want to document their success and show you their journey. And so that's exactly what we're going to do here today on the podcast. I'm also going to announce that I announced it on the Instagram actually last week on one of our stories, because our last podcast was also this format. But the way in which we'll be releasing them now is we're going to split them in half. So you'll have half of the podcast will be released on the Friday and the other half will be released on the Saturday. It's all the same podcast, all the same recording, but you will get them in two parts so that you can really enjoy that experience and we can give you more value in that space of time. So without further ado, let's get straight on with today's podcast, and I'm really excited to introduce to you Anna Hong. So Anna, can you just introduce yourself? Just give us a short kind of 3-minute introduction of who you are.
Sure, thank you. Hi, I'm Anna. I'm the CEO of Sapphire View. I moved to the US about 7 years ago, actually because of my husband. He works for Microsoft and he didn't want to go back to China. So I decided to quit my job, leave my parents and move to here. And here I am. As soon as I arrived at Seattle, I knew that I won't be able to do my previous job anymore, So I actually set up 3 goals for myself for the first 5 years in the US. The first one is build up a software startup company. The second one is understand how to set up a nonprofit in the US and create at least one. The third goal is to be a really good professional real estate agent. It turned out I did very well. At least it's beyond my expectations. So firstly, I did co-founded a high-tech company, a software company called Sapphire View. We got investors, we got customers, we did great. And secondly, I create actually 2 nonprofits. One is Chinese Young Professionals Association, and the second one is Grow Up Entrepreneurs. Both of them have a very big social impact in our communities. Thirdly, I did become a real estate agent and I sold the couple house. The total value is about 8 million ish. Not too bad, right? Yeah. That's a little bit about myself. Yeah.
I mean, just starting with that, you can see, and you didn't even mention Anna that you were having kids at that time as well. That's like an incredible. Just hearing that from my point of view, and being an immigrant and coming over and adjusting to America and what America is like and achieving all of that. You set yourself those 3 goals and you not only exceeded those 3 goals but had kids at the same time. To me, it's just, and it must be testament to how hard you work, and just amazes me, and not only amazes me but inspires me, as a young individual, to see someone achieve so much in such a short space of time by just putting their mind to things. Amazing. So I've got so much respect for you, and I know Aaron is the same.
Yeah, I'm honestly awestruck by the fact that you were capable of doing so much in 7 years. And I think what touches my heart the most is the fact that you not only started a business that was successful, but you actually gave back to the community, and you took the time to create 2 different nonprofits that help the minority of this country. It helps women empowerment is such a big thing, and something that needs to be spoken about more. A lot of women are really discriminated against in the workforce, and you went out of your way to make sure that you could create a nonprofit to help people like that. And same goes for Chinese people, and really any person of color. The fact that you took your time to create a program that would aid a person of color and help them in their success is phenomenal. And honestly, it makes me happy. And it's one of the things that we're going for is trying to help, the people that usually don't get help, and we want to help everyone. So it's awesome and amazing, and I love it.
Thank you.
Absolutely, but let's begin to break things down a little bit, and I want to get into the different areas, and there's a massive amount you've achieved. So let's break it down and say how you got there and get into those experiences. So first, let's get into Sapphire. Let's get into that business. I want to hear about kind of how did you start, what did you go about it? Did you have a background in software that you could use to help? Like, what were you doing in China beforehand? That you said you couldn't continue when you came over to the US, and kind of how did that help you on your journey of beginning this company?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So when I was in China, I actually worked for a company. It's called Chinese Vehicle Technology of Academic. It's it's a bit of like the NASA in the US, right? So because of the industry I worked with, so I don't think it's a good thing for me to start at the same work here. So that's why I said it's just impossible for me to do it. And then when I moved to here, I realized that I want to do something um, related to my hobby. And another reason I want to start my business is because I actually have a lot of friends who are already very successful in China. They start their own business. Their company was bought by Baidu, like Google in the US. They actually inspired me. So they make me feel like that. Okay, I should do something. I should work for myself instead of work for a big company, which I already have a couple years experience there. I did engineering, I did management. I was the chief staff to the CEO of my company. So I learned a lot from my previous experience. So I understand how to do a high-tech company. I understand the technology. I also understand the management. But it's also very challenging for me to start a business in a new country, right? So I started with my hobby. My hobby is dance. I have been dancing for many years. Sometimes I teaching, sometimes I just do it for fun, right? But every time I feel like that, I need something that is easy enough to record our practices or performance from different angles. That is something I would always wanted to do. And then I met my co-founder Mike. He was the director of robotic team in Microsoft. He's a Native American here, but he has been teaching martial arts for more than 10 years. So he had the same pain point or same need as mine. And then we start. Well, why do we just create a business for like easy a multiple perspective solution, right? That's how we founded our company. And then as we build our product, we try to develop, different categories of, client, different type of client. And it turned out that our product is works very well in the, class recording space. Our current client code fellow, they're the one of the biggest coding school in Seattle, Greater Seattle area. We have 5 systems there. They use our system, record all their important classes every day, and share with their students. It's a great tool, and they actually did a testimonial video for us too. Yeah, that's how I started. And also we are a venture-backed company. We have investors from San Francisco, from Seattle, and also in China. I I did went back to China. I did go back to China, attend a Shark Tank like show in CCTV too. Like a ABC, it's like a ABC in the US. It was a great experience, and I got 5 offers from 12 investors. I really appreciate that experience. I learned a lot, met a lot of fellow entrepreneurs and understand how the production work in such a big media company. Yeah.
That's awesome. You bring up so many questions. Can I actually? I think my first question for you is, but you spoke about people who influenced you and kind of motivated you to start your business. So could you name maybe three people that really had an impact on you deciding to start a business?
Um, the first one I would think about is his name is Zhe. It's a little bit hard to pronounce. He actually he was my classmate. I would say alumni in my graduate school because our major is different, but we were in the same student club, right? Kind of like a nonprofit here. Um, he's great. He always doing like a entrepreneur thing. Even when he was study, he actually works for a startup company. Right after he graduated, he joined that company, and then he quit, and then he actually start two or three companies, and finally the last one his company sold to Baidu, and now he actually doing a new startup, right? He is the person helped me a lot because his previous company actually doing a little bit similar things they do, or like online classes. They build an online classes platform in China, right? But when I start a company, I know nothing about company, right? Like how to start a company, how to, the when how to negotiate with the investors, right? Yeah, and about the how to divide your company share with your co-founder, right? That kind of things. Um, yeah, you can learn something from the videos, right, from YouTube, but it is much more helpful when you have a friend is so close, and then he can tell a lot of things that people wouldn't tell you in YouTube, right? Yeah, that's it's also why the reason once I create my company, why I would also love to do my nonprofit, because I see that there are lots of people who want to become an entrepreneur. They don't know how to start it. I want to be the person to help them.
Well, if you
Right?
want to help me, I'm starting my business, and I'm actually right now I'm in that rut where I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm trying to start a business, but I feel like I'm in this box that's black, and I have no clue how to bring in some light and really start to build it out and build out what I'm doing. So I appreciate that you think about people and you really think about that perspective. A lot of people when they start their business they have that sense that if I can do it everyone else can do it and they don't need help, but the reality is if someone gets help it accelerates their ability to create something by an infinite amount of times. When they get help from someone it makes it so much easier. That idea of mentorship really ends up helping someone, and it actually helps people that wouldn't otherwise start a business, because they were afraid of starting that business. And some people would be like, no, 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 I have no clue what I'm doing. Why would I take the time to do it? I'm just going to keep my job. I'm going to keep making my 60K a year. But, in reality, if someone helps you, it makes it a lot easier and it makes it more fun too. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely, and I think it's really representative of, like, Anna, you were very in that stage. You said you didn't know anything about a company or how to start it, and you went out and you found the information and you went through it, and now you're at the point where you can give back and show people that you went through that pain and hard work. I'm sure it was not easy learning all of that stuff in such a short space of time, but you put yourself through that, and now you're giving back to people, and that's amazing. And just, yeah, I think it's great that you're able to pay that information back, because, yeah, like Aaron said, a lot of people sometimes as well are just like, oh well, if I did it then people can learn as well, but you really look to really reinvest in that, and I think that's great. And how us Gen Zs are going to get through this and learn, because we really don't know what's going on. We're still very young and we've got a lot to learn. But my next question for you is just I wanted to say as well how relevant your company is right now with COVID and everything that's going on. I know things can be difficult in terms of getting clients and stuff, but people looking for that new virtual experience and creating something that can still be valuable to people even at home, and depending on how long this craziness goes on for. What a great solution for a lot of people to use facilities and create that great virtual experience. That's something that I think is just so relevant. But my next question for you, Anna, is moving more into kind of the non-profit side of things. So how did you go from creating the business to you said you wanted to start a non-profit when you arrived here? Were you starting the non-profit alongside the business, or were they separate from each other? What was that like?
Oh, it's actually it's separate from each other. So it's different identity and it serves different purpose. So for example, but it's kind of related because I was doing my startup. So definitely I would know a lot of fellow entrepreneurs in Seattle area, and also I know a lot of investors, right? So I have the connections and the resources. So that's why when I build up my Grow Up Entrepreneur nonprofit, that one, every time when I want to, invite a speakers or guests, it's easier for me, right? And meanwhile, I have the experience, I can share with them and help with them, right? And also, and another thing is for this one is because of one of my friends. She is the founder of Grow Up globally. Because I am the person who create the Seattle chapter, and I made it nonprofit in the U.S. But in China, it's actually also a startup company. But I like their men's side. They're talking about like as a girl or as a woman, you have to be trust yourself. You have to be proud of yourself and just do it, right? And every time, and I also like their format. Every time when we host the event, we actually require all the attendee to wear like we have a dress code. You wanted to wear very nice, and we have a color code. We take really good pictures, right? It's not just we want them to look beautiful. We want to build the confidence of being a woman entrepreneur, right? We want to attract people to have more people to support us. Right.
Absolutely, no, for sure. And God, we need more women in the business world, man. I mean, the Gen Z team would love one to come and have that insight as well. I really value that female input, because I find that your minds work in a beautifully different way to like us men, and I think that's so valuable to any organization. And so, yeah, absolutely can see, and I think that's awesome.
I wanted to say I completely agree with you, Rio, in the fact that I wish there was more women in positions of power. I was actually talking about this with my girlfriend the other day while I was networking. I was actually I was networking for adding someone to our team, as we spoke about the other day, Rio. I've been specifically actually looking for women because women have an input that men don't have, and unfortunately, there's a bias towards women not being good at what they do. But in reality, I personally think that women actually are better at doing things related to like marketing and advertising and anything related towards being the actual face of a company. I actually think women tend to excel at it more than men, and so I appreciate that, and I really I wish to see more women in positions of power, and I hope we actually do get someone else on our team, like Rio said.
But I have to tell you that actually, I actually know a lot of the women. They are really good, software developers, and I know, and some of my, fellow women entrepreneurs, they start their own company, and they actually kind of play the CTO role in their company too. So it's not just marketing for women.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. Everything in every aspect, they're very valuable. And I mean, in terms of us, if there's any women out there that are interested in getting experience in social media, or want experience in social media, or have experience in social media, then come our way. We'd love to have another member of the Gen Z team to kind of help us with all of that. But alongside that, were you doing the nonprofit and your startup at the same time? Were you
Mhm.
doing you were doing them at the same time? Wow. And then your second nonprofit, when did you begin founding that? Was that alongside as well?
So the second nonprofit Chinese Young Professional Association is actually I started about the same time as Grow Up, a little bit earlier than Grow Up Entrepreneur actually. Yeah, yeah, but I see them as um for me when I manage the manager team. Sometimes like right now I was trying to merge the two team together because it's more like a big group of people, but you're working on different projects, right? I think a project is the best way to train those young people, right? So I'm more focused on to manage those people, and then I give them more chance to do the work, and then they learn it from work, right? So basically, if I do everything by myself, I can definitely do better job, right? But it's not the best time best use of my time, and they won't learn it, right? So I want them to do it and learn. So I did when I was in China, I did an internship in Microsoft Research Asia. What I learned from them is they said this kind of thing like on-job training. They give you a task, you finish, and that's how you train you, right? So same thing I did here in my nonprofit. I try to um, break down different tasks to have them to teach them to how to do it and how to manage people. I have different team leaders. Yeah. Basically, I always have them to do it first, and then
Could you actually give an example of a task that you would give them, or a recent task?
well, it depends on what type of task, right? And it also depends on the ability of the person. So what I always like to do at first is to have them to give them a task, to have them to come up with the idea, have them to try it first. And from that I know their ability, what their strength and what their strength and what their weakness, right? And from that I can have a better solution, right? So if he is not really good at this job, I either change a person or I give them more detailed guide to help them to do it better, right? Yeah, that's how I do it.
That's amazing. And so, is there a website for that?
For a website for both the two. Yeah, we have website. We do have our website, but be honest, though, we more content is in WeChat. We call it WeChat official account. That is no, that's the app we use a lot. I was a little bit worried about the WeChat ban may happening. I don't know how that's. Oh yeah, we use that for everything. In our Chinese community, connects to our family in China, and also you can do everything from that. You can pay your bill. You have like you build your community group there. I don't know.
So here's what it looks like. Um, so we got the grow up entrepreneurs.
I like you're definitely a perfectionist then, Anna. I mean, that's a brilliant website, and, and you're saying it needs updating.
That's awesome. So they got events here and everything. If you're in the Seattle area, feel free to reach out to her and join her chapter. And then this is their Chinese Young Professional Association.
So the YPA, did you say that was a Chinese organization?
Yeah, it's the CYPA is called Chinese Young Professionals Association.
Oh, okay. Because I know there's a young professional network, a YPN, that's local here. Yeah,
It's different.
yeah, it is. It is different, but I was seeing if they were related, and
And
they weren't.
this is her website for the Sapphire View. As you can see, she creates, she puts on cameras around to give a pretty much a three-dimensional view of any kind of show or event happening. So if you guys ever run an event and need someone with cameras, you have her. This is awesome. I hope I can start building websites like this soon. Awesome.
So all the background work of all the recordings and everything that's going on, like when they have you have all the cameras set up and stuff. How is that managed? Can they then take the video and manipulate it themselves, or do you then send it back to them? How does that work?
It's actually our product name is Front Row, so I can send the link to you guys too. Front Row Views. So basically, we develop our own platform, our own player. So when you do the recording, it just automatically link to our product website, and then for the viewers, they can view it from our players, because our player is different than other players. We have like multiple view at the same time, and the users can switch views by themselves. It's not like Zoom, it's always the person who started the meeting who control the panel, but our viewer in our platform, they can control by themselves. And then not just the streaming part of our product, we have a very big like a back office to help we call it provider, who stream the video. Um, um, we help them to manage the access of their video. So basically, you can create a group upfront, group of people. You have as long as you have the email address ready, the system just automatically enroll them, and then only the people who in that group can see the video. So you don't need to worry about the private problem issues. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I guess my next question for you: what was some of the obstacles you had in developing your business?
I think the biggest challenge for us is the installation. Is where our product is not like Zoom or like WhatsApp. You just download from the App Store and then you can use it. For us, it is because our client, they want the system to just automatically turn on and then turn off, right? And then we need to install cameras, and we call it MVR kit. We have a little box that manage all the recording things. You have to in place inside the clients, their physical locations. I think that is the thing, the big challenge for us. It's make the sales circle longer.
Definitely. And so in terms of like the business side of things though, as you were expanding and you were trying to find investors, and what became a hard thing? What was the hardest part of trying to find an investor, and why did you choose to get investors?
Uh, well, because we when we start a company, we were not trying to build a company like doing a family business. We want to grow. We want to potentially be a really big company. So that's why we're looking for venture capitalists. Yeah, that is a right route. We should go for it, and we just buy it. Yeah.
And so how did you go about finding the venture capitalists that ended up investing in your business?
Well, it's really the one thing I have to say is really about the connections. So the invest, especially for it's like a young people when you're looking for a job. So it's always to be good to have someone refer you to the right person, right? The same thing in our startup world. And the fellow entrepreneurs, and then they understand your business. They would introduce the right investors to look at your business. Because if the even sometimes some investors really like you as a person, but if they don't do investment in your industry, it just won't work for you. So it is very important to find the right investors. That's the first thing. And the second thing is like you need to talk to enough amount of investors, and don't take too seriously when people say no to you, right? So Jack Ma, right? The CEO of Alibaba, right? When he go after investors in San Francisco, he got like 40 rejection, right? it doesn't matter. Not all the investor would, understand that you would give you money. But if they don't invest you at this time, it doesn't mean they won't invest you in the future. So it's always good for you to make a good relationship with all the investors you have talked to. Yeah, and you really want to listen to them, listen to their feedback. But you don't have to listen. I mean, you don't have to take all their advice, because you are the only person, you know your business better, and you know what kind of company you want to build, right? You have to do the things you believe, not the investor believe, right? Sometimes they make wrong mistake, because another thing is that you have to understand, as an investor, they actually entrepreneurs too. The difference is they make gambling, especially for early stage company, right? They invest like 100 company. They were expecting like about 10 out of 100, or maybe just one out of 100 can be a unicorn, and then they make all their money back. So they know there's a very high risk. So make yourself, don't make yourself feel like that. Oh my God, I'm talking to someone, I'm asking for money from them. No, we're just making deals. They, if they trust you, and then it's because they think you potentially will get a lot of money back to them, right? It's not really you just asking money for them. But it is very challenging. Sometimes when you get like invest money, they're looking for return. Some of the investors, they are, I would say, more short side. They want to get a return quickly,
And
right?
then what would be
So,
a third
so
thing that
finding
you
a
think
right
you've learned
investor is very
during
important.
this journey?
It's kind of like you finding a co-founder. You want to find a good investor. So otherwise, sometimes the investor will ruin your company too, right?
That's true. That's true. You gotta find. I really love what you stated there about relationships. About you develop relationships with individuals, and then like you said, they're not going to ruin your business, because you're going to be doing business with someone that you want to be doing, not just someone that's just giving you money or whatever. So I really love that concept of building the relationships. But the other thing that I wanted to ask you about, Anna, and just absolutely fascinates me about you, is throughout this whole thing, in this entrepreneur journey, and this lifestyle that you've just created for yourself, when you speak about it, you just seem like you never had any doubt about failure, about things going wrong, or you just never seem to have any worry about that. It wasn't something that took up any space in your mind. And firstly, would you say that that's true? And secondly, like how did you develop a mindset like that?
I would say growth mindset. Um, and I also know that, uh, because the people I know, there is a lot of good examples. A lot of successful entrepreneurs, they actually failed several times. They build like 2 or 3 startups. It just doesn't work before. But finally, they were really successful, right? A lot of good investors, they understand that. Like one of my investors, he told me, if I trust that person, I would invest him in 10 times. Even he failed 9 times before, right? Because he, from his point of view, if I stop investing him at the 8th time or the 7th time, right, I lose all my money, right? He, his point of view, he invested in that person, especially in the early stage. If it's later stage, it's a lot easier, because you just see the financial sheets of the company, and then you can predict what's going to happen for the next year, right? But for most of the early stage company, you really just invest the person, the founder team themselves. A lot of things what happen is, I know that at the very beginning, it happens a lot for all the startup founder. The the very first idea when you start is actually quite different than what you end up with, right? The reason why you do startup is because you just have an idea and do it. Build a product, prototype, and test your idea. If it doesn't work, and then you can pivot your idea, right? So it it doesn't mean it's a failure, right? It just means you're solving problem. This is also the things I learned from doing startup business. So Even I looks very, outgoing and optimistic, but I have been through a lot of downtime too, right? But the things that I learned from that is so what? After you get through it, and then you realize that it's just different problem you are facing every day, and the only thing you're thinking about, like, how do I solve the problem, right? If finally you are not the right person to solve the problem, it's okay. You probably change your idea, start a new business, or you just go back to learn something you think that you need to improve, right? Because it doesn't mean you start a business. It's because you're gonna be successful in that business. It's not works that way anyway. So if you have that mindset, and then you know that, okay, I'm here to learn. I'm here to solve the problem, right? And then you gain more experience. So if you think that way, I think I see it as a growth mindset, and then you can keep doing this. Otherwise, you will all focus on, oh my God, I lose one customers, I lose the deal, right? But it doesn't matter, right? Even good salesperson, they just keep doing this and get deal. They don't stop here like blame themselves. I didn't get this current deal. It's just how life is just like
Yeah.
this, right?
And if you keep trying, there's always the chance that it will succeed. If you stop, you're never gonna, are you? So I'm learning so much from you, and I feel very lucky just to be interviewing you. You've got an amazing mindset. It's just incredible. And so the question I was going to ask you next is, what are maybe like, let's go for like top three. What are the top three things that you learned over these past kind of 6 years through this startup journey? What has been three main takeaways for you, whether it be personally or to do with business? Just what are the top three things that you've learned and that you're going to take away from it?
The first thing I would say, like, in terms of startup business, um, I would say the most important thing is talk to your customers to really understand who is your target customers, and then talk to them as early as possible, and understand what is their real pain point. You're trying to solve this for them. So you're not don't try to sell anything to them, because you want to be an expert in your industry, right? And then help them to solve the problem. I think that's the most important thing. Listen to the customer. And for the personal, I would say I actually always ask the people who want to work with me. The first thing I would like to ask them is there anything you would like to do every day, and you actually keep doing this? So for me, I think it's a really good thing. So you really want to foster that kind of habit. So it doesn't matter what you do. Like, you can say, okay, I keep doing diary every day. I keep writing every day. And for like a non-native speaker, I can say I keep learning English every day. But it doesn't really matter what you do, but like, or I can say I keep dancing, practice dancing every day. But if it's very important for you to have a habit, and you can keep doing it, make some time, invest yourself to learn something, right? Because that will help you to build a mindset that you believe yourself, you can achieve something in the long term, right? So people always think about me, so Anna, you look very energetic even in the quarantine time. So I felt like that it's actually, for even for myself, I feel like it's very easy for me to get lazy, lay back and doesn't want to do anything, right? But what I did is I gave myself a task. Like, I told myself, hey Anna, you should do a audio diary, like just 5 minutes every day. So you have a time to think through what happened today and what you're gonna to do tomorrow. Even I like to set up like a 5 year plan, but it really doesn't matter. You have a really long-term goal if you don't do anything in a short time, right? So the audio diary I would like to do is really help me to go through every day for myself. And I also tell myself, like, because I want to solve I have back pain problem too, right? So most of people do have the problem. So I told myself that, hey, you have to do like 5 minute stretch every day. The reason I don't push myself to make 1 hour to do anything, because it's very easy for you to give up before you achieve your goal. So I always say 5 minutes. That helped myself actually start doing this. Because once you start, you actually do more than 5 minutes. And every day you can tell yourself, oh, I achieved the goal I made. And that's actually train your brain to have the mindset. Oh, you can achieve things in the long term. You can keep doing this. And then so you see that like 10 or 20 minutes, like every day, it actually make your life better. And you feel yourself more energetic, right? I think that's the thing I would like to share with you guys.
And then, what would be a third thing that you think you've learned during this journey?
The certain during the journey, I would say team. To have finding it like if when I do my startup, I think find the right co-founder is very important. It's like a business marriage, like you too, right? You have to know yourself, and it's better that your skill is complement to each other, right? And then you can do much more as a team other than as an individual. And I would really appreciate especially for my co-founder Mike. He trusts me a lot. Even though when I do something, I felt like that I wasn't doing very good, but he's always like, oh Anna, you can do it. He always encouraged me, right? So even as a nonprofit, I did the same thing. When I started my nonprofit, I always think about that who is the person I want to bring into the team, right? Always tell them to also like for the newer new people join our officer team. I teach them how to manage a team. I told them that is how you want to learn from the nonprofit, how to manage people, how to become a leader. So team is very, very important, I think.
I completely agree. I mean, I joke around with Rio all the time, where I'm telling him it's like we're dating, but we're not, because it really is. You know, you have to have that sense of trust and that compatibility and that ability to really push each other to be positive and continue to do things. You know, when one of us messes up, instead of saying, "Hey, you messed up. Why do you mess up?" we go, hey, we missed this or we did this. How can we improve it? And together, you know, we take the blame together. If one of us messes up, it's on both of us because it's something that we share. You know, when something goes wrong with the podcast, it's on both of us to be accountable for it. And so that idea of picking the right team members that you know will hold each other accountable and will take part of the blame no matter what, I think is very important. So I completely agree on that, and same with your idea of that personal mindset. You know, it's always important for me. I like to do 5 minutes of journaling. I like to do 10, 15 minutes of meditation every day, and I like to try and get up at the same time every day, no matter what time I go to bed, because that idea of having that routine really starts to motivate you, and it creates this idea that you have to do things at certain times, and you can't just give up because it's hard or whatever. And I actually use that same concept, which is funny, with the 5 minute rule. If it takes 5 minutes, just do it. You know, that goes for everything in my life. If I have to do the dishes and it's less than and it's gonna take me less than 5 minutes, just do it right now. Why wait? You know, if I have to go mow the lawn, it's gonna take me 5 minutes. Just go mow the lawn. You know, whatever it is. If you have to write an article for the podcast for me, I can write 5 minutes worth of the article right now, and then I can write 5 minutes later again. And that idea of breaking it down and making it small goals rather than big this one big intimidating goal is really important, because if you can break it down, it feels a lot easier and a lot better to do than if you make it one big goal, like, oh, I want to start a business. Well, instead of saying I want to start a business, say, hey, I have to register my business license. I have to make an LLC. I have to write out the introduction to my business plan. I have to do this and that, you know, and breaking it down makes it a lot easier. It makes it more approachable. So I love it. I love that the mindset that you have.
I think we should just take a minute just to realize the value that Anna just provided there in terms of really giving insight into her mindset, what has made her successful. I mean, that's huge. That was like massive amount of value just in what you said there about how you've got to where you've got to. People can take so much from that from the way in which you speak about how you go about your business. That's for a lot of people, that's just a good starting block that they haven't been on for a long time. So incredible value. I'm learning a huge amount, so again, I thank you so much. But also, I want to kind of, this is going to be the last main question of the podcast before we begin to wrap things up. But the last main question was, what are your future goals with your current company and with the non-profits, and kind of where do you want to go with things? What's your next 5-year plan?
um, well, it is a little bit challenging questions. Yeah. So basically, for my company, I think um, it's probably a right time for us to pivot our idea, right? Especially for the quarantine. So I want to work with my team and then to figure out what we're gonna do after quarantine time, right? Because I don't build my 5 years goal by myself now. When I first start, it's okay, but now, no, I want to talk to my team members for that. And then for my nonprofit, I set a very long-term goal when I started. Is I want to have a lot of branch. I want to build a platform that can help young professionals, can help young women entrepreneurs, especially Chinese people in the U.S., to help them to become a leader, become a entrepreneur, and build a really massive network, around the U.S. I want to have a lot of different branch in different cities. That is my long-term goal for that one. And personally, take care of my second baby.
Oh, we didn't even say, yeah. Yeah, so you had your first child. So you had your first child over these last, like, obviously
Yeah,
the past.
she's 4 now, and
Okay.
right now I'm starting to look at some courses and she need to learn like Chinese or like learn painting, that kind of stuff. Being a parent is challenging, but for me, I see that it's another chance for me to learn more things, right? Because there's a lot of new things I didn't have a chance to learn when I was young. I learned with them. So that way I don't see it as a burden. And I also need to figure out what's the best way for my whole family to manage our time, right? When I first moved to here, one of my old friend, he told me that, hey, Anna, you want to manage your husband, right? You don't want to be a woman that's just stay at home, take everything at home. So I use OneNote a lot. OneNote, for my business, for my nonprofit, and also for my family. So I actually have a family goal. Like we talk about how do we want in 5 years and how do we want to improve ourselves and also for our kids, right? We have a plan and then we match together. So that way we can best the use of our time. Yeah. For me, it's also like a lot of people would ask about life and work balance. I think it's all together. I see life is also a type of work. You just have to put the thing into the calendar and then do it.
It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, no?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I love the fact that you approach your life in a way that's very systematic. You always set goals, whether it's with your personal life or your professional life. You're always setting a goal as to what you want to do. You want to learn with your daughter. You want to learn with your business. You want to do certain things at your meetings, but you always have a goal. Whatever you're doing, it always sounds like you have a focus before you go into what you're doing, and that's something that people really need to learn to do. I do it a lot where I like to jump into things before I've set a goal. I get an idea and I'm like, let's jump into the idea, but I don't have an ultimate goal, and then all of a sudden that idea starts to break down. And so that way that you focus in on your goal and then you find a way to get to it is very, very good and very systematic. And I think it's what makes you so successful.
Thank you.
I definitely appreciate it. Okay, so as we begin to wrap things up, I've got two final kind of things to finish off with. And the first one is there a final message that you want to leave our community with and put out there for people? What is that final message from you?
The final message. Since this is like an entrepreneur thing for this topic. So the final message I would say is, if you want to become an entrepreneur, especially for the young generation, I would say just do it. And then find your co-founder, build your product, prototype, and talk to your potential customer as early as possible. Understand them, understand their problem, understand their pain point, and solve it. Basically, I would say you do it as early as possible, because the lessons you pay is how to say that, because you are young, right? You don't have any burden, you don't have family, right? It's always be good to start early, try it, and then eventually I would say you will get successful, and that's what the startup journey will help you to learn much faster than your other fellow professionals or your classmates.
You've got it. You got it. Just start it. Just start it. It really is in some ways that simple of just starting, right? And just getting on it. So no, beautiful message. I love that. And finally, can you just give a directory of, we did bring the websites up so people can see them, but where can people find you if they want to connect with you? Where can they find the businesses and where should they go? Just a final kind of advertisement / where people can go and find you and your business.
Okay, so I would say, like, if you guys want to find me at LinkedIn is the best way. Just type my name, Anna Hong. Yeah. And then my company website is sapphireView.com. It's the best way to know my company.
And do not be afraid to reach out. I mean, that's how I met her. I sent her a connection on LinkedIn and started talking to her, and here we are interviewing her. So always be willing to talk to people, even if you've never met them. More often than not, they're willing to help and they want to talk back to you. Especially if they're older, they're willing to give back and return what they've had to help them grow in the past.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, Aaron got in contact and sent a few messages, and now look how much value she's just come and provided on our podcast. I mean, this is people pay for this much value, and they pay a lot of money for this kind of stuff. So it's amazing for you to come on and just pass on all of that information and give back to a younger generation Z of entrepreneurs coming through. So yeah, like we said before, really appreciate you coming on, Anna. It's been great having you. So we're going to finish as we always do.
Cheers.
For
now.
As always, head over to the Instagram and Facebook at Gen Z Journey, where you can get an inside scoop of what's going on behind the scenes, as well as seeing the exciting guests that are coming on for that week. But above all else, thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate all your participation, and we're excited you're on this journey with us. See you next time.